Dan Proft coming to you live from the Skyline Club for another edition of Against the Current. We're pleased to be joined on this edition by Dean Angelo Sr. He's the president of the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 7 in Chicago. Dean, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So, poll out this week that finds Rahm Emanuel with a 62% disapproval rate, 70% disapproval rate among African-American residents of Chicago. Why do you think his disapproval rate is so high?
Well, I believe a lot of it has to do with what happened with the video, with the Laquan McDonald incident, and the increase in crime, the mistrust of the police department that was written in the task force report didn't help.
And so that report that you're referencing that came out early spring, that essentially the conclusion was the problem in the Chicago Police Department is systemic racism.
It's ridiculous. To say that the officers that go into these communities don't care for the communities they work in each and every day is a complete disconnect. What we would like to do is invite all of these people that buy into that to ride along with those officers, get in a squad car with them. We've asked city council people to do it, and they don't. We've asked people in Springfield to do it, and they won't. We don't know why.
Too dangerous.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they lose their narrative if they go in there and they see what happens and they see the way that the officers are faced with a level of disrespect that's never been seen before. When I testified at the Senate subcommittee about body cameras coming, I told them, you're going to be subjected to a segment of our society that you have no idea exists. And you need to be exposed to this. I don't want to see any editing in these videos that come out with the body cameras. I think it's important that our entire population see what police officers are confronted with each and every day. That you're going to come away with a brand new level of respect for what these women and men do each and every day in the city of Chicago.
So, you know, rough numbers, 6,000 Black and Latino police officers on the Chicago Police Department. When that report came out with those charges, what's the reaction from those Black and Latino officers to those conclusions, this kind of rhetoric?
Well, we have African-American officers that work in Inglewood, and they want to know if they're racist too, because that's 99% of their stops are with African-Americans. And that's part of the problem that I have with that statement and Ms. Lightfoot's report. They never remove that variable. They never remove the Hispanic guys or girls that are working in Pilsen or in Humboldt Park. They never remove the African-American officers that are working in Roseland and in Inglewood. And if you don't take that into consideration, your numbers are skewed. Or not even considering the variables about ethnic officers stopping ethnic populations. Or are they racist too?
So if I'm working in Inglewood and I see a white kid or a white guy there, that's unusual. Exactly. Or they're from some other neighborhood to buy drugs.
Right.
Now, if I target him for being in Inglewood to buy drugs, am I, as a white guy or a black guy, racially profiling the white guy who's in Inglewood to buy drugs?
It's criminal profiling. And when I was in the gang crime unit, I used to work the West Side a lot. And when we saw a kid drive up around Washington and Pine, which is predominantly African American, and he's got a suburban city sticker, and he's in mommy's BMW, well, we pull him down, and we know exactly what he's there for.
How impactful do you think it will be, the decision by Mayor Emanuel to remove Gary McCarthy as police chief, bringing in Eddie Johnson, an African American, as police chief? Is that something that's more of a PR move, or is that something that's going to materially change the police culture?
Superintendent Johnson's coming with a lot of positive feedback from our members, and for a boss to go that high up the ranks and not have somebody call up and say, oh my God, how could they possibly pick this guy? We haven't heard that yet. And it's been a while. We would have heard by now. So a lot of the press from our membership that's coming forward about Superintendent Johnson is pretty positive. Right now, it's early, but right now, departmental-wise, he's got some pretty good reports coming from the rank and file.
What is the philosophy of the FOP and rank and file police officers to deal with that officer that is a bad actor or that committed a bad act?
When we get a case of misconduct brought to us by an officer, we look at the individual incident. We also look at their background. You cannot go from zero disciplinary history to separation. If the department has a guy that's got a behavioral issue, and discipline is supposed to adjust behaviors, and they put them through the process, and then they come back and continue that behavior that they were called on the carpet for, then you have an opportunity organizationally to either severely admonish and discipline them or remove them. But when you don't follow the process and you don't try to adjust that behavior with increasing discipline, that's on them. If you do a drug test, you're positive, you're gone. If you're arrested for a crime, even before conviction, they'll get rid of you. You know, in the circumstance with Officer Van Dyke, he was in a performance of his duty. I believe that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to that don't have a preconceived notion of what should happen, that let the opportunities of the court play itself out, and they're going to sit back and they're going to go, "Should I never thought of that," or a light bulb might go off, or there might be some type of a re-examination within themselves of what they see. I'm worried about the city every day, you know, and it would be accentuated, you know, if there's a not guilty verdict. There is a tension on our streets right now that our officers see every day when they're out there. What's going to happen now if the affidavit is removed from complaints against policemen, like they want to start in Springfield, is those
So they can do anonymous complaints.
Right. And those gangbangers are going to have IPRA on speed dial. And Dan and Dean are going to get 20 complaints.
The police review board.
Right. We're going to wind up having complaints levied against us nonstop. And our sergeant's going to say, you know what, Dan and Dean, you guys need a hammer to hit you on the head? Stay away from that corner. These guys are beefing on you like crazy, and I got to do paper on each one of those beefs. And what happens with that, when the sergeant tells us to stay away, we give them the corner. We lose the corner, we lose the block, we lose the block, we lose the community, and it's going to light up this summer. You've got to make sure that we don't minimize the capabilities of active police officers to go after people that are there breaking the law every day.
I mean, what's the kind of major explanation for the numbers we're talking about?
The biggest problem I see now is that you have people that have never had a weapon on their hip or been a police officer telling police what to do. But what I told people in Springfield and what I've told people in city council is you have people that have never done police work trying to tell the police how to do their job. More people will die.